you hit Mount Pearl, it was perfect, right?
Don't you know?
Well, I got to come in from St. John's too.
You came the other way.
Yeah, Black Marsh.
You went Black Marsh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had to go up to Mount Pearl.
Yeah, that's true.
Smile for the camera.
We want all the microphones on all the way through this, don't we? Everybody's. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I see we've got as they say now, we've got a fine crowd on. First thing I'll do is call all of this to order. We are first and foremost going to say a welcome. We have a lot of nice people here with us today in the gallery. I want to recognize that the honorable member for Mount Pearl South is here. Paul Lane is here with us. We have a couple of members from the Mount Pearl Chamber of Commerce here, some residents here as well. And we're delighted to see all of you, even though today it's really starting to snow outside. It looks like that anybody who bet on a green Christmas, they're going to lose. Maybe. I'm being told that it's going to rain tomorrow and Thursday and that it's going to get a little warmer, so you never can tell. First thing today, as you can see it before you, Council, would be our agenda. This is for the meeting of December 20th, 2011. I'd entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented. It is moved by Councillor Stoyles. It is seconded by Deputy Mayor Locke. I do see 2 or 3 items that have been added to the agenda. Are there any other additions not yet reported or known of from Council? Any other additions to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded, and the motion is carried. Minutes and action report from the public meeting of November 29th is the next item on our agenda. Are there... I'm going to accept a motion on them when I can find them. There we go. All right. First thing, yes, got them. A motion to accept the minutes of November 29th as presented. Moved by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Councillor Aker. Any errors or omissions? Again, from the minutes of November 29th. Errors or omissions? Hearing none, we'll call it. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded, motion is carried. Business arising then from that same meeting. Are there any items from the meeting of November 29th? Councillor Stoyles.
798, Your Worship.
798. We're going right to the back of the heap here, eh?
That's right. This is the item concerning the hedge on Bannister Street. This was an issue that had gone to council, and of course the hedge was supposed to be removed. Council all supported the hedge being, and then the gentleman appealed and lost the appeal, and he was given 14 days to have the hedge taken down, and the hedge is still there, Your Worship, and I understand now that there's a letter after coming in from the gentleman's lawyer, and I haven't seen a copy of the letter yet. I've only heard about it, and I'm just wondering now, how long of a delay can we expect? Like, it's already been gone through council, and it's already, this is an issue, actually, Your Worship, that came to me and went to all of council, I guess. Anybody that has a concern with any issue, they bring it to a councillor, and the councillor brings it then to the body, the whole body. Anyway, this issue was supported this issue was supported by all of council, and I'm just wondering now where it's at and how long more it's going to take for the said hedge to be removed.
We will turn things. Who's going to take this from staff? Mr. Yefchek, if you would.
Your Worship, Councillor Stoyles, I guess the sequence of events was that we were actually in contact with the property owner, and he had indicated to us right up until the end of last week that indeed he was going to remove the hedge. And then we did receive this letter at the end of last week indicating that that was not the case, that he solicitor on working on his behalf, advising us that if what we were doing he believes was unlawful, and that if we proceeded, they would take legal action against us for trespass and damages, etc. So that's what we've received to date. Where this is going now is we're going to refer this to our solicitor, get his comments on this before we actually take any physical action on the hedge itself.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also want to note that part of the hedge is on city-owned land,
Yep.
and that was also a concern that we had, so I just wanted to note that as well.
Are we not, just as, again, Councillor still has a question, and I'll direct it to Mr. Yefchek at this point in time. The concern with this hedge was one surrounding visibility in the first place, and that it had people entering the street. I believe it's Burridge, people entering the street, Churchill and Bannister. I'm sorry, Churchill and Bannister. There was a real traffic problem. So that problem, then I'm assuming, continues unabated while we go through this process still?
Your Worship, that was a problem. Actually, the hedge was much higher than it is right now. A number of months ago, no, actually, I believe it was someone working on behalf of city staff cut down the hedge to its present height, but that was done as an interim measure because it was such an unwieldy hedge in terms of its height and its thickness, and that was kind of a temporary measure waiting to hear from the appeal board. The appeal board did say that this was not a jurisdictional matter under appeal board legislation, that this was something that they could not consider, and that the city, take whatever action that the city was intending to take, but it was not appealable. And as Councillor Stoyles has indicated, part of that hedge is on city property, part on the private property. The current situation, the hedge is still a good height from the ground. I'm going to say it's probably maybe 3.5 feet. It's still intruding into the road right away. So some action would have to be taken to actually remove the hedge off the city's road right away and improve the visibility around that corner.
When do we anticipate that? Does this reverse the 2-week notice that was there now? If we go back to our solicitor and our solicitor takes a month to do anything with this, and the opinion of our solicitor at the end of the day is we're well within our rights to remove it, do we have to go back, serve another notice, do another week? I mean, this song and dance can go on forever and a day.
No, Your Worship, my understanding is if the solicitor advises us that we are within our rights to do what action we can take, we would do so. We would not be issuing any further notification.
Okay, thank you.
Your Worship, before you move on, I just wanted to ask that the residents on Churchill Avenue and Bannister Street in that area who use, especially the ones on Churchill, I know 6 or maybe 8 names of people who are calling me on a regular basis to find out what's going on. I'm just wondering, I know it's Christmas week, but I'm just wondering if it's something we can do to send off a notice to the people, letting them know that there's another delay.
If it's a wish of council, but we will need the names of those that we have nothing in our file regarding who was actually the complainants in that area. But if we have the names, we can do so.
Several of them attended the hearing.
No, but you're going to have to provide him with the names. He's saying he'll send a notice out to them, but you provide him the names. We don't have them. All right. Anything else then from the minutes of November 29th? November 29th. Nothing else? There's nothing else? Okay. That being the minutes and action report from November 29th and business arising, we're going to move on to proclamations and presentations. It says, Council, that there's nothing there for proclamations and presentations today, but there is a presentation. I would like to present a whole great big tall handsome human being to you. The gentleman sitting over there, who everybody is... And everybody is sitting around and they're whispering, who is this guy? Who is this guy? So we're going to get him to stand up for a second and have a look at him. He's going to be somewhere in that area for the foreseeable future, we trust. Certainly beginning after January 16th. Council, this is our new Director of Infrastructure and Public Works, Mr. Jerry Antle. And we want to say to you, Mr. Antle, welcome aboard. We're delighted that you come for the day we're bringing down the budget and a week before Christmas, and all of it is very positive from us and for you as well, I hope. And I'm going to tell council and everybody else a little bit about you now. So you can have a seat there. Thank you. Thanks, Jerry. We're very pleased today to announce that Mr. Jerry Antle, professional engineer, has been appointed to the position of Director of Infrastructure and Public Works for the City of Mount Pearl. He will actually commence his duties as of January 16th, 2012. Mr. Antle is a graduate of Memorial University. He holds a degree in engineering, civil, and a certificate in public administration. Not often we manage to, in the city, hook an assistant deputy minister to move in to our workforce. We're delighted to say we've done so here. Jerry has dedicated his career to public service. He is a seasoned leader with the provincial government sector. Jerry is currently employed as the Assistant Deputy Minister with the Provincial Department of Transportation and Works. And throughout his career, he's held leadership positions in various roles related to public works, to infrastructure engineering, to construction, and to operations. He has also served in the positions of Assistant Deputy Minister of Municipal Affairs and Registrar of Motor Vehicles for a while. And that one's a little bit out there, as they say, in left field. Well, prior to these roles, Jerry worked as a regional director and in various engineering roles within the provincial government on the west coast of the province, as well as in Labrador. Jerry is an active community volunteer. He's worked on a number of school councils with many professional organizations. Michelle Peach, our city's chief administrative officer, has noted in a news release that's going out announcing Mr. Randall's appointment today that Jerry's combination of education and progressive experience will provide a strong foundation in continuing the city's growth and reputation as a leader in the municipal field. The city looks forward to working with Mr. Randall to continue the city's success as a great place to live, work, and conduct business. Now, the coup de grace. This is a gentleman from Mount Pearl who grew up here, one of ours, loves our community, and anybody who loves our community is somebody we love back. So, Council, I want you to all join me in welcoming to the ranks of our senior staff management and our senior staff, Mr. Jerry Antle, our new Director of Infrastructure and Public Works. Now, I don't know whether Jerry is going to get any time off between leaving provincial government and coming to municipal government or not, other than the few days he gets at Christmas. And I think he's been assured by other senior managers around here that when you come to Mount Pearl, you hit the ground running, son. And I got a feeling, though, you're going to enjoy us and our time and your time with us. So welcome aboard. And there's our presentation today. On that, we are now going to call committee reports. Now, Council, with your leave, I would ask today that we go down to item number 8, which is our Planning and Land Use Committee report, and I'd like to bring it up front. We have a number of residents here with us this afternoon who dropped in to hear one issue. And to be honest with you, with the snow and everything that's going on, I have no problem making you suffer through a council meeting. It's not like it's an election year or anything, so, you know, you'll forget about the 3 hours we made you sit there. But I think that's cruel. So what we're going to do, in actual fact, is move planning up with your leave. We will do that, and we're going to ask the chair of the committee, Councillor Aker, if he would present the Planning and Land Use Committee report first, and then we'll go back to our regular committee structure flowing down through, including finance at the end, okay? Everybody good? Indeed. Thank you very much. Planning and Land Use Committee report, Councillor Aker.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and thank you to the Council for this. I'm going to skip right to 16 Sunrise Avenue, too. I'm going to skip the other item that's on the agenda. I'll come back to it. If you want, what? Okay, yeah. We'll do Alston Street after Sunrise, if you don't mind, Your Worship. We'll just do a flip. Yeah, absolutely. 16 Sunrise Avenue, we've got a development proposal to subdivide the A lot at number 16 into three building lots to remove the existing building and to build a triplex. The issues here for council are the applicant is requesting a 10% variance in the side yard given the width of the building. They would need to reduce the side yard and are asking for a 10% relief. In addition, this land is located in the residential medium density land use zone, and a triplex is a discretionary use which has to come to the attention of council. The variance and the zoning both require, according to our regulations, a public consultation process. So we got her started by advertising in the Telegram. We notified 105 property owners within 150 meters, I believe, of the subject property. We had 14 written responses. We had a petition from 31 people. Generally speaking, all of the written responses were against the proposal. To that end, we had a briefing session which was held on November 1st. 22 residents, mostly from the Sunrise Avenue neighborhood, turned out, along with two of our local MHAs, MHA Lane and MHA Kent. And with the exception of the proponent, who was at the meeting, everybody was not in favor of this development. Throughout the process, some of the issues raised by the residents was that a triplex would be different than the current form of housing in the neighborhood. The character of the neighborhood would change. A lot of these houses are small, they're built on large lots, there's a lot of open space. To intensify this particular lot would not be in keeping with the character of the nature of the neighborhood. Other concerns were the development would be precedent setting. If we develop this lot as proposed, would that open the door to more developers to run the same type of proposals through council and further intensifying the neighborhood? Some of the other minor issues, minor in my mind, that were mentioned were market values might be impacted. Was there enough sewer capacity in the area? Was there enough traffic might be a little increased? And was there any issues with snow clearing? The general consensus coming out of this process is that the building is too large and not in keeping with the surrounding properties. As I said earlier on, most are single-family dwellings on large lots. This is almost the opposite of that. This would be a two-story building. It would be large in nature, and it would take up a majority of the lot itself. Right? The direction coming to council basically is that we need to, this is from the planning committee, we need to develop properties which are complementary in terms of the scale, roof lines, finishes, and size to the existing properties in the neighborhood. Your Worship, I'd like to move we reject the application as reducing the minimum side yard requirements would have a detrimental effect on the neighborhood's development standards, and also the triplex structure is not consistent with the form and style of existing properties in this neighborhood, and I so move.
It is moved by Councillor Aker. It is seconded by Councillor Ledwell. Seconded.
Seconded.
I'm going to open the floor to a little bit of commentary here, if anybody has some. My understanding, as it currently sits, is that from the point of view of our regulatory regime within the city.
Is your mic on there?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. My understanding is that this is approvable, right? Like this meets our requirements overall, or it does not? Just the side yards don't? Is that the case?
Your Worship, this is a road dwelling, 3-unit road dwelling.
Yeah.
Road dwellings are discretionary in the RMD use zone, so it's a matter of council using their discretion to either approve or refuse the application. The application is short in terms of its side yard. The requirement under the RMD use zone is 3-meter side yards.
Right.
They're looking for a 10% variance on both side yards to accommodate this development. So again, use of council's authority, discretion in terms of the variance is also required. So this is not, road dwelling is not a permitted use within the RMD use zone. It's discretionary. And secondly, it does not meet all our development standards.
Is there a concern then, my second question, and then I'll open it to council, is there a concern at the end of the day that if we turn this development down, which I support doing, would the residents and would the city in the future have to go through the same dance and, the same song and dance again if somebody on another large lot on the end of Sunrise decided, hey, here's a thought 18 months from now, we could put some road dwellings there. Do we got to do this same dance every time? Or should we, from out of this, make a change to our plan so that we wouldn't have to do that song and dance? Can we do that? Councillor Walsh, what's your view?
Well, my view is expressed when we discussed this in committee was that, first of all, the proposed development was a beautiful triplex. It was very nicely done, well planned, beautiful looking building.
Yeah.
I think the reason council, to the person, supports refusing it in this particular instance is because of the location, because of the pre-existing development. I can see this kind of triplex development as part of a redevelopment scheme where it's identified and revised CDAs for certain portions of the city. But to put this into an already and fairly well-established neighborhood, particularly where it requires modifications and it is discretionary and they require variances to the side yards, really didn't seem like the most appropriate fit and a good place to start for triplex development in the city. Again, to the developer, I think the developers have done a tremendous job. We could probably like to see that accommodated in other areas of the city, but I think it has to be part of a longer-term plan, part of the vision for
Yeah,
redevelopment. of Mount
I
Royal.
agree,
That's
which
what
is why I go to that question. You know, we don't want as a city to have to do this same, I use the term song and dance here, 18 months from now, and then another 18 months after that, as developers with land pressure, want to move in and fundamentally change that neighborhood, which we're arguing here. One of the reasons to say no is that we don't want to change it. I'm going to quote right from the committee's report. If council was to use its discretion to approve a row dwelling development in this area, it would be a precedent for future similar developments. And that would signal to future developers that council is prepared to consider such proposals in this area. Today we're going to turn one down, I am assuming. I'm making that assumption, right? We're going to turn it down. So that would signal to future developers the exact opposite, that we're not prepared to entertain that in that area. But how ironclad is that from, is there an amendment or a change to our regulations we should make to protect against that in the future if we really don't want that in that
We
area?
already have it, Your Worship. We have discretion. We have the discretion to turn it. I know what you're saying, but
Yeah,
I
you know
think
where I'm trying to get
I
with
think
this.
what we're advocating is, and we're already partway down the road of doing that. And one of the things that we identified in our strategic plan, which will be done in consultation with the planning department, and also as part of the economic development strategic plan, is to identify both commercial as well as some residential areas for redevelopment. I think that's the most appropriate way to do it. Identify areas where we revise CDAs, where people are well informed that, in this particular form of development, there will be triplex development. Some of these, as I say, are beautiful and would be great fits. I think that's the way to proceed.
They just don't
as far
fit
as
here.
I'm concerned, in that area, my answer to your question directly is yes. It's not on there. If it was on for that area, we would have approved this one. You're not going to get any better. So, as far as I'm concerned, if we don't approve this one, we're not going to approve any for that area. We don't. Yeah, the message to developers, from my perspective at least, is it's useless to come back because that's not an area we feel that's an appropriate fit.
Thank you. Anybody else with comments? Councillor Stoyles.
I just want to say I certainly support Councillor Walsh's approach and as well. And I look at that area. This is one of the oldest streets in Mount Pearl. I know I've lived in my house on my street for close to 40 years now, and the residents down on Sunrise, they've been there a long time, and they have a right to say what happens in their neighbourhood. So I'm certainly supporting the recommendation from the committee.
Okay, thank you. Do you anybody else wish to comment? If not, you can close debate, Councillor, or I can call the question.
You may still call the question, Your Honor. Or Your Honor, Your Worship. I think we're all
I like that. It's the gavel. It's the gavel, isn't it? All right, well, we will call the question, and the motion obviously is to turn down this development request on Sunrise Avenue for this triplex. It has been moved by Councillor Akers, seconded by Councillor Ledwell. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. The motion is carried. Okay, next item.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. We're going to go back to number 1, which was 20 Alston Street. The proponent or the applicant is proposing that we develop a building expansion or extension of 246 meters with a height of 8.7 meters. Because the height is 8.7 meters, it requires a 4-meter side yard. The proponent is requesting a 10% variance for that side yard down to 3.6 meters. And with that in mind, we initiated a public consultation process, which included the usual procedures, advertising in the telegram, notifying property owners nearby. No responses were received to date, and this has also gone through the city's departments, and generally this was okay to proceed. But an issue further arose when it was discovered that the foundation was poured in this particular case without a permit. The city issued a stop work order. Upon looking at the foundation, it's been discovered that if they were to erect the building on it, it will require a 3.3-meter side yard, a difference of about 5 inches, actually. Council cannot condone any activity that happens before a building permit is issued, and for that reason, the stop work order was issued. The property owner and the contractor, however, did ask council if they would still approve the foundation, given that there's basically a pre-assembled building that's going to be installed on the site. To do this, they would incur considerable expense. So the committee said they'd have a second look at it just to see. And council, by the way, has the discretion to approve an addition to this, or reduction, I should say, in the side yard, right? But given the small variance, it's only 5 inches, and the large scale of the neighborhood, what we're recommending as a committee is the council approve the request with a note that in the future, this contractor and all contractors follow our regulations to ensure that the city is planned and developed properly. And the motion from the committee is to issue a development permit with a 3.3 meter side yard and rescind the stop work order. And as a side note, I think all of us on council support the planning department when they have gone back to this contractor to basically say, you're busted. And I make the motion, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Aker, it is seconded by Councillor Ledwell. Questions or comments? Any question or comment on this? Can I ask, can I pose something since we're here? Because I recall this coming up before. I'm sorry, I'm not doing this right today. I'm coughing, so I'm closing it down, and then I forget to turn it back on. This came up before, not for this particular instance, but other instances like it. And what council, as I recall, was going to look at was a way to punish these guys. And in here, while I don't disagree with where we're going, and we're talking 5 inches and all that in a variance, these people went ahead without any kind of a permit or consultation with the city. Plus, there's got to be a consequence for that. Now, I thought we were setting that up. I'm assuming that we have not. I'm just assuming. Stefan, is that the case, Mr. Yefsek? We really don't have a consequence for this? Right? Like, can we not say to that developer, boy, you know what? Everything that you want there is fine. Because of what you did, you bring us in $5,000 now, and then we'll talk. That's your fine. Why couldn't we do something like that?
Your Worship.
Or you don't get to build it. You get to tear it down.
Well, yeah. If council really feels strongly about the action, then the ultimate, I guess, action would be tell them to move the foundations into appropriate location. But there is under the Urban Rural Planning Act, there is a provision that we can actually go to court and fine the individual for an infraction for every day that there's an infraction. It's a timely and costly venture, and certainly if council wants to take that action, that could be an action that staff would take. But I know it is, given the nature of this proposal, and again, we're talking only a few inches, I think might be, I think this is the opinion of council, that might be a very onerous action to take in this case.
I don't disagree. I would look for something though that sends a message to everybody in the city that you don't do this stuff without a permit. That I hate to think when we're doing this stuff publicly as well that from this can stem the it is easier to get forgiveness than permission approach, and we see a fair amount of that in our city as it is. This is a classic one though. I mean, they built the whole foundation without a permit. Right? The fact that they built it and they're only 5 inches out and needed a variance of only 5 inches to make it fit regulatorily. In other words, had they come for a permit, they'd have gotten it. Right? It's the fact that they did it without. That's the part that all of council has expressed concern over. There's got to be something beyond that court piece that we can pursue somewhere, isn't there? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out as a question more than anything else. Maybe the committee should look at it, but it frustrates me. Anyway. Anybody else want to speak to any of this before I call Councillor Aker back? Because he's the fellow talking. Councillor Aker.
Well, just to close debate, you make some good points, Your Worship, and I personally, as one council member, would have no problem with a blacklist, if you want to call it that.
Well, I don't want that either.
But there has to be some type of punitive measures to ensure that this doesn't happen very often. And in context, in my 2 years on council, I think this is the first one that I've experienced.
Yeah, we've had others.
You've had others in the past.
Yeah.
It's something we can still look at as a committee.
Anyway,
I would
yeah.
have no objection to doing that.
I don't know if that's me or not there now.
I think generally we're getting some feedback.
Yeah, we're getting some feedback generally, yeah. Turn her down a little tiny bit, I guess, Wally, if you could. All right. No other question. We'll call it. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Next item.
Yes, Your Worship. The next item is 1207 Topsail Road. Bubba's Tubs is the
This is
tenant
item
over
3
there.
now.
This is item 3, yes. Yeah. They're requesting a sunroom extension. The subject land is in the mixed development zone. Currently, this property is an acceptable non-conforming use as it's not within the 8-meter building setback that's normally required and has been that way for a number of years. Council, though, has the authority to authorize this application as long as it doesn't increase the non-conforming use. And you can see from your kit there, the front line of the building will still continue to be further ahead towards the front of the property than the sunroom will be. But there was an issue that arose during the processing of the application because the landscaping requirements kick in. And basically, typically you would require on this property some form of landscaping along the front. But unfortunately for the business owner, he or she requires tractor trailers to be able to come in on site through the front. If we enforce the landscaping right to the letter of the law, basically we're going to be impeding this owner's or this business person's ability to do business. So what we've done as a compromise is we've beefed up the requirements under this application for more landscaping in the side yard, recognizing that, look, the intent of the landscaping regulations are to ensure that some landscaping is put in place. And basically, I think we've come to an accommodation here whereby the sunroom could be put in place. The business can still get the tubs in, basically, and offload them from a tractor trailer. And at the same time, we would improve the landscaping in the area. So the motion is to approve the application for the showroom extension, including the provision of side yard landscaping.
Moved. Seconded.
So he can still,
Question or comment, Councillor Stiles?
he can still get down with his tractor trailers, or they're going to take him off and bring the tubs down? That was the question. I think he's still able to get down.
Yeah, if we don't put the landscaping in the front, he'll be able to bring the tractor trailers in along the front of the building, offload them. He can still also get his tractor trailer somewhat down the back of the property, but that would not be in his best interest because the way he wants to load the tubs into his showroom.
So he's fine with physically taking the tubs and physically moving
The only
the
option
stuff.
He can't really back a tractor trailer right up to a loading door regardless on this property, given the tightness in the front of the property as well as the slope that's at the rear of the property.
Yeah,
So
I'm
this is a
quite familiar.
compromise, I guess, whereby we look more at the intent of our regulations and the spirit, not necessarily the exact letter in the regulations.
Okay. I have no problem.
Speak to this as well, Your Worship.
Councillor Walsh, yes, please do.
Yeah, I just want to thank Councillor Aker and particularly Mr. Yefchek and his staff. This was an accommodation we made as part of the landscaping regulations, and Councillor Aker is correct. If because the addition of the sunroom display room was actually a redevelopment, the landscaping regulations would have kicked in. But this is an excellent example whereby one size doesn't necessarily fit all. I think if you're beginning again or in some areas of redevelopment, and we've seen it along Topsail Road, where the regulations that we had for landscaping were appropriate, were necessary, and certainly enhanced, beautified the front of the buildings and the landscape along Topsail Road. In this particular case, it would have prevented Mr. Butler from operating the business as he had hoped to operate when he had moved his business from, I think, O'Leary Avenue into the Topsail Road area here in Mount Pearl. So I think having made the accommodation, Mr. Yefchek, I appreciate it, and please pass along, I'm sure, on my behalf, but certainly in particular, Mr. Butler's behalf, the thanks that I'm sure he'll extend to you as well. This was an example where staff worked pretty hard to accommodate it, and the committee supported it, and hopefully council will as well. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else with a comment? Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion is carried. Next item.
Yeah, next item, Your Worship, is 912 to 924 Topsail Road Discovery Holdings. Basically, the planning department has issued a stop work order. There's been some work done at this location, not minor either, by the way, fairly major work. There was no application, there was no permit, and my motion is to ratify the stop work order, and I so move.
Moved, seconded.
Seconded.
Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Thank you. The next item relates to 2 cease and desist orders as it relates to basically home-based businesses. You see the 2 property addresses that are there. Staff have repeatedly tried to resolve this issue with the 2 homeowners, and nothing has really come of it, so they've had to issue the order, and I would like the support of council to ratify the order, and I so move.
Moved,
Seconded.
seconded.
Your Worship, again,
Councillor Stiles?
If these people apply and it's possible they could get a home-based business like they just haven't applied. I think that was the problem, wasn't it? I think
Yes, I
our
believe
staff
that's the
have
case.
contacted them.
Correct.
And it's possible if they were willing to apply and they meet our standards, they would qualify and we would approve a home-based business. And there is a fee to operate a home-based business within the city of Marlborough. And, you know, it's still an opening for them to come in and apply and look at our standards and see what we do. And I think all that information was sent to those two properties. I just wanted to note that.
Yep, thank you. Mr. Yevchek, comment?
Yes, Your Worship, and again, Councillor Stoyles. Yeah, the situation in these two properties is that the home-based business is actually being operated by a tenant in the dwelling, and so the order went out to the property owner who owns the actual dwelling. And I'm pleased to say, just as of today, we actually do have the applications in for these two home-based businesses. So you'll be seeing in a future meeting a rescinding of the orders. We need to confirm the orders because they were issued.
Okay, right, thank you. I'll call it then. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
It's amazing what happens when you issue an order, right? You know what I mean? I don't think people take you seriously sometimes until finally the order gets issued, and then basically every duck seems to line up behind each other. Next item, Your Worship, relates to our Manager Planning Inspection Services. And I'm here to say congratulations to Julia Schwartz on achieving her CIP designation. She's basically been accepted as a member of the Canadian Institute of Planning, and I know as an accounting professional how proud I have been to be a member of the accounting profession. And I'd like to extend to Julia my profound proudness as well on achieving this milestone. The CIP, which is the Canadian Institute of Planning, was established in 1919 to advance the professional planning excellence in the country. It's a national planning professional certification body. Their standards are very high. Those that try to achieve this designation must do a lot of studying and related work experience. And Julia's achieving this designation did not come without her hard work and dedication. And this just brings another level of professionalism to the planning team. And I just want to put some of this in context of the city's strategic plan. And one of the goals of our plan is to respond to shifts in demographics. So things like adopting universal design or creating a seniors affordable housing project, becoming an age-friendly city. Julia's expertise, not so much her newfound expertise, but her newfound professionalism will be key as the planning department works with council and other staff in getting these issues through our agenda through our strategic plan. So I just want to say congratulations to Julia, and Stefan, I'd ask that if you would pass that on to her personally too. I know she's on vacation, but we'll see her in the new year. So once again, congratulations to Julia.
Thank you, sir, very much.
The next item, Your Worship, is a housekeeping matter. The city needs to execute a deed basically related to Trout Place, and this involves an exchange of land which was required to create the bulb at the bottom of Trout Place.
Right.
We are acquiring land of LJP Holdings, which would be to the west of Trout Place, in exchange for land to the south, basically. And I move that we approve the CAO and the city solicitor to execute that deed.
Moved, seconded. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Another item, Your Worship, and this is a really good news piece in terms of development in the city. We have the Sundera condo development proposal, which is for 835 to 841 Black Marsh Road. This is just west of Holy Sepulchre Cemetery. The proponent is Rocky Mount Properties. We're proposing to build 4 buildings with 204 condos. This area is zoned apartment. Now, previously the land was zoned highway commercial, and we went through a rezoning process the last year or so. And during that process, a couple of the issues that were brought to our attention by the neighbors were traffic volumes that would be created as a result of this development, as well as stormwater retention, especially as it impacts the Waterford River Valley. So included in the development, we have 2 entrances onto Black Marsh Road, as well as an emergency entrance onto Topsa Road. And this emergency entrance is purely to be used by emergency vehicles, so there'll be no traffic coming and going on Topsa Road. It'll all be directed to 2 entrances on Black Marsh. And in addition, the project contains a rather nice retention pond, capture and slow stormwater runoff, which will also then at the same time will double basically as I guess the centerpiece along Topsa Road of this particular project. You can see behind me we have an artist rendering of the buildings. They're all wood frame construction, basically 3 to 4 stories high. There's underground parking as well as outdoor parking. And here along Tops of Road, you can see that we have basically a fountain area within the water retention pond.
So you say 204?
4 buildings, 51 each. Yeah, for a total of 204. Right, you know. Now, one of the future realities coming out of this development, along with the hillside development and others along that area, is that Black Marsh Road will have to be perhaps upgraded, especially the intersection.
Well,
And
no
that came
question,
out of the
upgraded and
process.
widened.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's not going to come now.
Sidewalks,
That'll
you're
probably
looking at
happen.
putting a substantial residential community along that side of Black Marsh Road. We're going to have to address it.
It just won't be a commuter road anymore.
It just won't be a commuter road anymore, correct?
Yeah. So the motion, Your Worship, coming from committees to issue a development permit to Rockmount Properties for this development, and so they can, as you can always see by driving by there right now, they have already started. The planning department has already issued the permit, and we should see first occupancy sometime in the new year. And I so move.
Moved, seconded.
I just had a question.
Councillor Stiles, question?
And the question I had actually, we talked about was Gadwall Place, of course, is coming off Black Marsh Road and is being developed for the past number of years. And we always receive a large number of complaints from people. Was an walkway issue, and of course we did the walkway around the Brentsport Pan, and that's a lovely thing that and put that in. But the residents are certainly concerned about a walkway and on Black Marsh Road and getting on and off and coming in and out. Of course, with all the construction on the go, I'm sure they're going to have a lot of concerns with this development. And I just want to make sure that we reassure them that we will do our best to try and have it as safe as possible for them leaving and entering the street, because it is a busy street. There's only, I suppose, 20 houses down that way, but they've been there for a while and they certainly have a large number of concerns.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, that's a very good point, Councillor Stoyles. The Gadwell people are kind of isolated, I guess, from the rest of the residential neighbourhoods of Mount Pearl, but realistically, I guess we couldn't just jump out tomorrow and put sidewalks in and repave the road with the amount of construction that's coming. The tear-up is going to come from the Team Gushu Highway overpass or underpass that's going to go in there. In addition, the hillside development will take a few more years for that to mature. We've got this development here by Rockmount that's got to take place. The best time and place to perhaps upgrade the road, including the sidewalks and the new blacktop, is probably going to come in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
And at that time, I guess council will be considering that in their budget process. But I
I
think
just want to make sure we make the commitment to them now.
Absolutely.
So they will be aware, because I know once they hear of this development, I know I'm going to get a call and a couple of emails, and I'm sure other people on council will get the calls as well. And I want to let them know that we certainly will be looking at, sidewalks.
yeah, that is the intent going down the road. Absolutely.
She'll be a beautiful street when she's done. It's just going to take a couple of years to do it. Those are very interesting buildings, though. They're all condominium buildings, right? These aren't apartment buildings. These are all going to be owner-owned, right? Not rental units. Okay.
Councillor Stoyles is going to put her name in for one pretty soon.
All right, anything else?
We'll have to move I move the motion, Your
Yep.
Worship. Yeah.
So moved, seconded. All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
For the information of council, the 2010 Mount Pearl Plan and Development Regulations, which we adopted last year, have been registered by Municipal Affairs, and they will come into effect in early January 2012. I think we should say, it's in order to say very good congratulations to Director Yevchek, who's led this process. It moved along slowly at times, and that's not because of our planning people, or it's more to do with the fact that it's a very complex piece. The city plan doesn't get done every year. So that will come into effect January of 12. The other thing I have, Your Worship, is rescinding of 5 orders for various properties in the city.
Yep.
The issues related to occupancy and maintenance or litter or non-compliance with our regulations have all been resolved. You see the addresses that are there. I move that we rescind these orders.
Moved, seconded. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Now, the next item, Your Worship, I have a notice of motion. Now, the trick will be to find it, because
I'm looking right at it.
all the planning stuff. No, I got it. Yeah, no, thank you very much. I took the back door. I went to corporate services and came back that way. Yeah, thank you. Notice of motion. In accordance with Section 39 of the City of Mount Pearl Act 1988, take notice that in accordance with Council's public notification policy, I will, at a regular meeting of Council, move an amendment to the text of the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 1988 that, if enacted, will, in Schedule C, restricted use zone table, Section 3, titled Automotive Sales Use, amend the use zone table as follows. Retitle to Automotive Use. Secondly, to replace the text automotive sales use with automotive use. And thirdly, replace Section 3, Part 2 to read parking lot shall be paved and shall not require any municipal services. The intention of this amendment is to provide Council with the authority to consider parking lot issues within the restricted use zone where the parking lot use is associated with a permitted use within the development regulations. Dated
Hear, hear.
today, notice given.
Amen. Notice given.
And finally, a couple of housekeeping items, Your Worship. The development permits number 68 to 77 issued for the period November 28th to December 16th, and I so move.
Move, seconded, all in favor, contrary-minded, motion carried.
Final thing, Your Worship, is building permits for the period November 27th to December 16th. I'm going to consolidate them, if that's okay, into one motion. Residential for the period were $953,600. Commercial for the period were $1,254,000. And finally, municipal works in the amount of $6,190,692, and I so move.
Moved, seconded, all those in favor, contrary-minded, motion is carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. That's it.
Thank you very much, and so that's the planning and land use. We're going to go right back now to our Public Works Committee.
Thank you very
Councillor
much.
Walsh.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'm pretty anxious to hear from the Deputy Mayor and see what the budget's all about. I know that the CAO has both the red and the black, so she's not showing her hand at all. Is that supposed to be a red shirt, Mr. Director?
It's a long story.
It's a long story. So nobody's showing their hand, so we'll find out shortly.
I never knew about this red and black thing till
Well,
today.
Yeah.
We're
Apparently-
supposed to wear red and
apparently
black
it's
on
been a-
Budget Day?
It's been a tradition for a long time, but we hope
A tradition with whom?
well, with the director.
I brought down 8 budget spies. The most that I ever saw was a pair of shoes. Paul Lane is down there.
He's
You
not
ever
very
hear of this red and
observant.
black thing? Blue.
There's
Being
no
a
red
good
there.
conservative,
He doesn't
it's
know
always
anything-
blue.
He doesn't know anything else.
Okay, he
Doesn't know
knows
anything
no
else
other
but
color but blue.
Well, I'm sorry now that I digressed.
You shouldn't have brought it up,
Yeah,
Sujata.
I really shouldn't.
Anyway,
Open the can of worms for sure. Anyway, Your Worship, I just want to obviously note that as we walked in today, it was beginning to look a lot like Christmas, as the
is
song
indeed.
goes. A lot of snow on the ground. Just wanted to say that we, as chair of the Public Works Committee, we had an opportunity to test our equipment with a fairly substantial snowfall in November, including the new reversible blades that we have on all vehicles now. We are in good shape. I want to say to the residents of the city, particularly who live on cul-de-sacs and one-way streets, we are going to utilize that policy for using the reversible blades for the intention for which they were purchased, beginning, of course, immediately. So we're in good shape. We have 2,500 tons of salt at the depot. We did purchase, as part of the new fleet purchase, Your Worship, an oversized loader, which we're going to apply in probably the one area that provides ongoing challenges for snow clearing, and that's in the Mount Carson Road area.
Amen to
The
that.
first fall of snow, Your Worship, we had some additional challenges there because we had some parts of the road where work had been done throughout the summer, and there wasn't black top restored there. So we should be in good shape for today's snowfall, and going forward, we hope. I just want to mention that. The second thing.
so you're not going to you're not going to start singing "Let It Snow, Let It Snow" now, are you?
No, because I really don't like the snow, to be honest with you. But it's inevitable. We live in Newfoundland, and just knowing that we're prepared and ready to
Jerry
move
Handel will be
is good.
pleased to know we're ready, Jerry.
Yeah.
When you get here, we're ready.
Yeah. So a lot more people other than Jerry Handel will be
Glad to know
pleased
it too.
We're ready as well.
Amen.
I just want to mention again. I know a couple of months ago, I believe it was the deputy mayor who brought up the issue of traffic around the school zones and the impact of the one-way streets. It forces traffic to leave many of our schools and school zones in a particular pattern, and that creates stress in a lot of other areas like Michener Avenue, McGraw. If you look at the St. Peter's School, McGill Crescent, people can't turn left, so they go all the way around McGill. around O'Donnell. It's Lindbergh Crescent. Bottom line is we do have approval and agreement with the Eastern School District. Now we heard back from Mr. Sinnott and Mr. Royal from Eastern School District. They're going to undertake a study that entails both a look at all of the school zones that are affected for traffic flows both on-site as well as off-site. So we're going to look at the impact that it has on the surrounding neighborhoods and roadways, traffic patterns and the flow of traffic. But sometimes you can do an awful lot of good work if you put it in the hands of the proper professionals in terms of improving traffic flows and patterns within the lots themselves. So that's also going to be included as part of the terms of reference of the study. It's like all these studies, they don't come cheap. We're allocating, I think, $40,000 in total, $20,000 paid for through the provincial government, through Eastern School District, and $20,000 from the City of Mount Pearl. And at some point in the future, we'll seek, I guess, the official approval of council for that expenditure. So I just want to mention that, Deputy Mayor, and to members of council. And also, if you have any more calls or complaints relating to that, because we've had a few, particularly from the McGraw Crescent area, that hopefully we'll have some solutions sooner rather than later. That's it for me. Sorry. Well, we're hoping to be able to let the contract before the end of January or by the 15th of February. So, yeah, sooner rather than later, because we feel that if we can get the study completed, we may be able to implement some of the changes right away in the spring of the year. All right. That's it for me. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Walsh. Our next committee report is Community Services. Councillor Tessier.
Thank you, Your Worship. We don't have a long agenda today. First is just some informational items for council and for the public. Of course, with the Christmas season coming up, everybody, I hope, will enjoy at least a little bit of time to celebrate with their family and friends, and our hardworking city staff were no exception. So we want to bring some hours of operation forward. The Reed Center on December 23rd will be open from 6 in the morning till 9 at night. On the 24th to the 27th, it will be closed. So we hope that everybody who works at the Reed Center and everybody certainly who are patrons of the Reed Center will enjoy some time with their friends and their family. From the 28th to the 29th, it'll be regular working hours, and December 30th be 6 to 9 again. And of course, New Year's Eve party is going to happen on December 31st, and January 1st and 2nd we will be closed as well. And that's the Reed Center. On to the pool. The pool is going to be closed from December 22nd to January 1st inclusive. And of course, it'll reopen on January 2nd and 3rd for the open and online program registration from 10 in the morning until 5 in the evening. And the programs will start on January the 4th of 2012. That's the first time I've said 2012 out loud. That's weird. It feels weird.
And thus it begins.
It feels weird, but I'm going to write 2011 on checks because, yes, I still write checks. So I'm going to write 2011 on checks until at least May. I just want to let y'all know. So if you get a check from me, you might want to double check it before you leave my presence. Double check it. Good thing it's the budget meeting, I'd say.
I did.
Next item, Your Worship, is our Family First Night celebrations. They're taking place December 31st, 2011, just before the turn of. And, of course, they're going to take place at the Glacier Arena that day, which is Saturday, from 4 until 6. Families are invited to come. Of course, the event is free of charge, and, of course, it is non-alcoholic. There's going to be skating, party favors, refreshments, and entertainment. Children must be accompanied by adults, and anybody who is 12 and under must wear a helmet if they are skating on the ice. And, of course, non-perishable food items are gratefully accepted at the door. The next item, Chief Robert Johnson and the RNC distributed this wonderful report on their activities from 2010-2011. I believe that it was distributed province-wide. And it covers the RNC's police activities from April 1st of 2010 to March 31st, 2011. It includes crime statistics in designated areas and drug and crime seizures, just to name a few things. The report also highlights the RNC commitments, goals, objectives, awards, and recognitions. And one thing that I wanted to comment on, there's 10 goals that are listed there, and of the 10 goals, you'll also see some progress and accomplishments. And the goals are all very important, and many of them, of course, will be of significant importance to specific sectors of our population. Response to family violence, for example, is one thing that's listed there that I know would be of great interest to many people. and the improvement of responses to family violence, and you'll see progress and accomplished bullets there listed under that. Another one that I wanted to highlight was improved gender equity, which is of course very important to me, being a woman and watching the RNC, which has traditionally been male dominated. But right now the RNC percentage of female officers within the RNC is actually slightly above the Canadian national average. So I'm really happy to see that. In September of this year, they had 25 new officers sworn in. 11 of those 25 were women. That's 44%. So that's really wonderful to see. And I know that, again, if you look at the bullets, the progress and accomplishments within that particular goal, you'll see that they're doing some very impressive work to ensure gender equity in the workforce within the RNC. And of course, I want to thank Chief Johnson for bringing this report forward. We, of course, have a detachment here in Mount Pearl. We're very proud to have a detachment here in Mount Pearl. And again, I commend the RNC on their fabulous work that they do for us in our community and province-wide.
That's great. It's a
very
sharp report.
impressive.
They're obviously making great strides. It's good.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
Yes. Yes.
And another Mount
good
Pearler.
Mount Pearler. And he's ours. We're proud to have him. Nobody else.
Jerry,
get
you're
him.
not alone. Lots of Mount Pearlers here.
And finally, we have the 2012. Look, I'm saying it again. Winter and Spring Activity Guide
Yep.
for the city of Mount Pearl. That's being delivered to all Mount Pearl households beginning this week, I believe. Yes. I want to thank, first of all, the staff who put this activity guide together. It's very impressive. I want to invite residents to review the activity guide cover to cover, because they'll notice that there's a lot of things that are going on in this city, and it has something for everybody. Young people, seniors, and everybody in the middle. It's showing some of the good things that we've done. It also lists activities that are available within the city, schedules, rates for these services. Upcoming community events are listed there, including the Focus on Youth Awards, the Frosty Festival, Mount Pearl Youth of the Week, the Citizen of the Year reception. There's all kinds of information in this booklet. So again, I'd invite anybody who receives it to take the time to go through it cover to cover and see all the wonderful things that are happening in our city. And of course, on the back, there's contact information for anybody involved in the Community Services Department should you have questions outside of what is in that activity guide, and certainly questions on what is inside the activity guide. And that, of course, is tabled for information purposes.
Thank you. Does that conclude
That is it.
the Community Services Report?
That is it.
Economic Development, Communications, Councillor Stoyles.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, I want to reiterate what you said. The Chamber, of course, is several members of the Chamber is here today, and myself and Councillor Walsh, who sits on the committee with me, met with the Chamber to do pre-budget meetings, and of course we have ongoing meetings with the Chamber on a regular basis, and I'm delighted to be Chair of Economic Development again and continue on for the next couple of years working with our Chamber in Mount Pearl. We just have two items, Your Worship, and one item actually concerns businesses in Mount Pearl. This past year we had 70 new businesses open up in Mount Pearl, creating 536 new jobs, and we're certainly delighted with that. In a total, there's over 11,000 businesses in Mount Pearl, with over 15,000 people working here in the city of Mount Pearl. 11% of them are home-based businesses. That's why one of the things I wanted to mention when we turned down two businesses, that didn't turn down, but we had two businesses, home-based businesses shut down, that we like for home-based businesses to operate in Mount Pearl, and we certainly encourage them to fill out their applications, and anybody who's looking at coming to Mount Pearl to open up a business or a home-based business, we're open for business. And that's just for information, Your Worship.
Very nice.
And of course, the list of all the businesses is here, and it will be on the website.
These are all the businesses that opened in the last year, right?
All the business that's opened within the last year, they will be on our website and in the minutes for today's meeting, which will be again on our website.
Excellent.
The other item I have, Your Worship, is the public transit study that, of course, a couple of weeks ago was approved here in the Chamber, and just want to mention that our staff and council have met with consultants, and we're looking forward. We're hoping that it's going to be done within a 4-month period, and looking forward to getting the report done. We know St. John's had just done an extensive report on their transit study, and we have a copy of it, and actually I'm in the process now of reading theirs and seeing what's in theirs, seeing that we use their metro system, and we're looking forward getting our own study done and seeing the improvements that we can do within our own city. And that's for information.
Thank you. Yeah. I think it has to be recognized that one of the achievements we hope to see come out of this particular study is how we can provide better service intermunicipally.
That's right.
What we can do for our citizens in Mount Pearl to get people around our city as opposed to in and out of our city. Significant piece of the pie. The people who did the St. John's report, I believe Dillon people did theirs, also doing ours.
Yes.
There's a consistency to that. I think that's an asset, not a negative in any way. So I'm looking forward to the study getting underway, and I understand there's going to be some public consultation with users and non-users and others in the city. So, Councillor Stiles, the committee is to be congratulated for getting this thing up and running. What are we spending on this study? What's the dollar value of this one?
I think it was about 48,000.
$60,000, is it? Okay, so that's very good, excellent.
And one of the other things we're going to be looking at is our taxi regulations, and not the regulations, but how many taxis we have, and if it's an adequate amount or not. And we certainly will be looking at that and doing consultations with our people who operate the taxi service.
Excellent.
Can I make a point?
Thank you, Councillor Tessier.
I just want to make a point on that. There's a lot of people who have a vested interest in public transit studies. Of course, anybody who uses the bus system currently. But there's a lot of people who don't use a bus system right now who might be very interested in attending these public sessions, because it's like we discussed in our meetings previous to this. If you have someone who needs to get from point A to point B in Mount Pearl and they can get there effectively in 20 minutes for whatever the cost is going to be, that's probably something that we might actually look at, because we live in a society of needing convenience all the time, and one person in every car and all that nonsense. And I think that there's a lot of people who may actually utilize a bus service who has never traditionally done it, because they have not found it to be particularly effective or convenient. So again, I'd invite everybody who would consider it, and who have young children or children who are certainly old enough to take the bus by themselves as well, to attend these sessions, because you never know. I mean, suddenly it might be something that you're incredibly interested in yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Just further on that, I agree with Councillor Tessier. I mean, we've got to develop a bus culture in the city. I mean, you go to other big cities, in Europe, other parts of North America. I mean, it's a given. People use the bus. If they got to get somewhere, they don't consider their car.
Yeah, but to develop a culture, we got to develop an infrastructure.
And that's why we're looking at it. To Councillor Tessier's point, the two routes we have now, the feedback that we get from the bus riders is that it's not overly efficient, and it takes extended periods of time to get from one point of Mount Pearl to another. We had a meeting prior to this council meeting, Your Worship, with our friends from the Chamber, and also the whole issue of public transit into our business park. We have about 4,000 employees there, and some of the businesses in there now are encountering congestion and parking issues and stuff like that. So these are the types of issues that we want to look at. I mean, we pay significantly for this, about $840,000 for the public transit service. So the whole impetus or motivation behind this was to see if we could improve the service with the money that we're already spending, and perhaps we've got to put in a little more money if it means improved service, increased ridership. It's a greener initiative. It'll reduce traffic congestion on our roads. So all these sorts of things. So again, I commend the committee for pursuing this and pushing this forward, and I do indeed look forward to the results of the survey.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
And
Worship.
the last item I was going to mention on the study is that, of course, our seniors, we have a large number of seniors within our city, and just getting to their own events, and especially coming out of the hill, it's not very convenient now for them to get the bus and come down into Mount Pearl. So that's one of the other things that we're going to be looking at as well.
Amen. Next committee is Engineering Services Committee report. I believe this is Councillor Ledwell's first official effort, is it not?
Well, second, actually.
It's actually your second?
Second report.
Last week you did one too, but it was pretty quick, wasn't it?
Pretty quick. Well, this one's going to be quick as well.
This one's going to be quick as well. Councillor Ledwell, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Just a couple of items today. This one is to do with the Glacier Arena expansion. It's phase 2 of the expansion, of course, the interior fit-up. The committee reviewed the enclosed change order document that council will see in their package. It's change order document number 13. It's for the Glacier expansion project. You'll see that it contains the supply and install additional backerboard panels around the balance of the rink. The supply and install a sump pump for the ice battery pit. Replace the gutter on the existing glacier. and supply and place temporary asphalt at the main entrance. So it was noted that these expenses are associated with the change order and they're within the allotted contingency for the project. So the recommendation from the committee is that it is recommended that the change order number 13 in the amount of $48,124.77, excluding HST, be approved for the Glacier Arena Expansion Project Phase 2. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Nedwell, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Question or comments? Hearing none, all those in favour? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
The second item, Your Worship, is to do with BSB Electrical Services. It's to do with the lighting at Squires Field and Team Guzhou Softball Complex. The committee was advised that debit change order number 5 has been issued. The amount is $1,413.40 for the above noted project. It's been noted here that there have been 4 change orders issued to date, and these change orders were approved by Council on August 23rd, 2011. The copy of the change orders are listed there in Council's package. The recommendation of the committee is that the approval be recommended for debit change order number 5 in the amount of $1,413.40 for a total of $32,385.19 for the entire project, and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Question or comment? All those in favour? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
That's it for me today, Your Worship.
And that's it for you today. Final committee report is indeed Corporate Services. Deputy Mayor Locke.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first item here is a tax deferral for low-income earners. We have 2 here. The roll numbers are outlined. And sorry.
Not a good time to shut off, is it?
No, that's why I'm using paper later on. The first is in the amount of $5,107.23. The second is in the amount of $933.14. And these are both in accordance with Council's policy for low-income earners, and I so move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Locke, seconded by Councillor Aker, I'm assuming here.
Yes.
All those in favour? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
The second item, Your Worship, is the renewal of our line of credit. The committee is recommending approval be granted to renew the $3 million line of credit with Scotiabank in accordance with Section 116 of the City of Mount Pearl Act, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Question or comment? This is annual. We do this every year. All those in favour? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
The next item, Your Worship, is an RFP that we issued in September, on September 16th, for electronic documents and records management software. We had 4 submissions. The evaluation team, which consisted of the IT manager and records and information management officer, reviewed and scored these 4 submissions. They evaluated them, and they came out with the one with the highest evaluation was Laserfish by Ricoh. And this is an electronic records management solution that's widely deployed throughout Canadian municipalities. And based on the evaluation, it was chosen to be the best. It also turned out to be the lowest at a cost of $151,182.50.
Wasn't cheap about it.
Nothing cheap. And the remaining budget amount for this software for 2011 is $52,000. Now, the reason this amount was so low is this estimate was made prior to the records and information manager officer being hired. So basically, it was a best guess estimate. Now, with the expertise in place, we now know we did the research. It's going to come in at $151,000. So this request is going to involve committing an additional $100,000 from the 2012 capital budget for IT, and the committee is recommending approval to award the RFP to Ricoh with a demo of the product to be presented to the committee in January, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Question or comment? All those in favour? Contrary-minded, motion's carried.
Next item, Your Worship, is the invoices for council approval. There's 14 there, and we're recommending that the amounts
Well,
be
we have a
accepted.
yellow sheet here.
Oh, my apologies.
Deputy Mayor,
I have it here.
we have, it is
Sorry?
changed.
We now have, I'm used to seeing the peach copy. So
We
this
got a nice
yellow-
bright lemon
Yes.
this time of year.
lemon meringue, yeah.
Oh, I know why it's changed. Our new, the director of corporate services is,
Mellow.
he's
We call
mellow.
it mellow yellow.
He
If
likes
the old
mellow
ones
yellow.
were, if the old ones were peach, how come the new ones are not silver?
Oh, man,
Nice
oh, man,
one,
oh,
Councillor.
man. An effort that's not good Christmas humor. I don't care what you say.
Anyways, Your Worship,
Painful. Yeah.
we have 15
15.
here in total, totaling $685,257.87. Sorry, 16. totaling $739,638.88. And I move that these amounts be accepted as presented.
Moved and seconded by Councillor Aker. Anyone with a question at all or a comment and inquiry related to these invoices listed 1 through 15? I see an awful lot of the Mount Carson upgrades and whatnot going through. So it's all looking pretty good. Anybody with anything? No? All right, call it. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
And I have one outside the kid, Your Worship.
Yep.
And this straightforward one has to do with our 2012 council meeting schedule.
Yes, right
We're
here.
recommending that the 2012 meeting schedule be approved as presented. And I so move.
Moved and seconded that the 2012 council meeting schedule be approved as presented. It looks a little different this year than it has in the past. I gather this is because we're doing public and committee all on the same day now, and we're doing it every 2 weeks.
Yep.
That allows us an extra week to do committee work. I don't know why we fool ourselves in the end, right? Because we always end up with a committee meeting the Tuesday before or after the public meeting.
Block Tuesday out of your calendar.
That's
right, yeah. Just block Tuesday out of your calendar, folks.
So unofficially.
Yeah. And the 4 blue ones, that's when our good folks from Rogers are here. Like today. Excellent. All those in favor? Contrary minded, and motion is carried. With that, obviously, the final item for you today would be, Deputy Mayor, the address regarding the budget.
The budget.
If you would.
Yes, indeed.
Give us all the bad news. All right, it's good.
Actually, it's no good, no bad news.
Good.
I was delighted to see, I was asked by several people if I had purchased new shoes. And I think our CEO even brought in a little shoe polish kit for me, but I did not get new shoes for the budget. I did get a new haircut, however, and
You look very trim.
What would you call him?
Very dapper.
She's not a barber. What would you call her?
She's a hairstylist.
A hairstylist.
Well, you know something?
I want to put
A
plug in for
haircut-
Liz because she didn't have much to work with, and
The haircut was a good idea. A, you're on television.
Yes.
B, you're on the internet. C, we got a photographer running around now taking your picture.
there you go.
Well, you know what? It's a risk, though, hey? Imagine if it didn't turn out well.
I have a lot of faith in Liz.
Well, then somebody else would have to read it. Go for it, Deputy Mayor.
All right, Your Worship, fellow councillors, senior staff, ladies and gentlemen, as chair of the Corporate Services Committee, I am pleased to present today the City of Mount Pearl's budget for 2012. I would like to start by thanking council and staff for their efforts and contributions in the preparation of this budget, which we all know is never an easy feat. Many hours of hard work, healthy debate, contributed to this budget, which we believe reflects continued fiscal responsibility, environmental progress, innovation, and improved services in all departments. Before getting into the details of our 2012 budget, Your Worship, I would like to highlight some of our major accomplishments over the past year. 2011 has been a year of reflection, envisioning, and investment in the future of our community. Some of our major accomplishments include the adopting of a new corporate strategic plan, was referenced several times here today. The developing and completing of an emergency management plan. Developing and completing a new economic development strategy. Developing and approving a new city plan, again made reference to by Councillor Aker just a little while ago. A new city plan and development regulations to guide our growth and development for the next 5 years. Commencing a study of our transit services. Completing a survey of aging adults' housing needs. Concluding construction and the grand opening of the Glacier Arena expansion on October the 16th. Completing construction and the grand opening of our skate and ride park in September, which has been a huge success and very well utilized. Continued contribution towards the regional Riverhead wastewater treatment facility, bringing our total committed contribution towards the construction of this facility to just over $11 million. We also saw, Your Worship, an unprecedented committed investment in street and road upgrading to just over $11 million. We saw the introduction of a pilot project involving collection and composting of leaves from residential taxpayers, helping to reduce the amount of waste deposited in our landfill. We saw the startup of an annual Waterford River cleanup led by our Conservation Corps Green Team, the construction of 2 new gateway signs with more to come. We saw the establishment of a welcoming committee for newcomers and an affordable seniors housing committee, of which I'm chair. We accepted a proposal for affordable seniors housing units on city-owned land on Municipal Avenue. Continued enhancements in the area of information technology, including progress towards implementing a records management process and system. We also have seen continued partnership with the newly named Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce on many initiatives to help grow and develop the local business community. As far as private development in our city in 2011, Your Worship, I am pleased to announce the city has again experienced tremendous growth in the level of construction in the city by private developers, with $35 million invested in residential, commercial, and industrial construction. As well, just over 70 new businesses opened up in the city in 2011, creating 536 new jobs. So Mount Pearl is still growing, and there's still room for growth. And Your Worship, we are thankful to all of our businesses, both big and small, for making us a net importer of jobs in this region. I think we have a net gain of 2,000 jobs, 2,000 workers coming in every day into our city to work. Now to 2012. Your Worship, this is going to be another great year in the city of Mount Pearl. Our needs are great, as you know, and our resources limited. Best budgeting practices start with looking at the costs of running our operation, and we deliberated over potential expenditures of almost $50 million to run the city in 2012. By trimming expenditures and planning important but expensive capital projects on a phased-in basis, we were able to settle on a final expenditure budget for 2012 of $38.9 million, the highest in the history of our city. Your Worship, there are, of course, components of our budget over which we have little control. In fact, half of our budget goes towards just 2 main expenditure categories. 20% of our budget, $7.6 million, goes toward the cost of regional services, including fire protection, purchase of water, public transit, wastewater treatment, and waste management. These costs continue to rise every year, and we are committed to paying our fair share for these services. 30% of our budget, $12 million, is spent on wages and related mandatory payroll costs. And like all municipalities, these costs continue to rise each year. These costs reflect the increases negotiated in our 4-year collective agreement signed with QP Local 2099 in 2010. And Your Worship, we are proud to pay our employees fairly for the great work that they do on behalf of our city all year long. Another large expenditure category is that of building and replacing our municipal infrastructure. This spending is a little more controllable in that Council can choose between conflicting priorities. But nevertheless, the demands placed upon the city to address the infamous infrastructure deficit facing all municipalities across the country are high. At the start of our budgeting process, Council was faced with choosing amongst $29 million worth of equipment needs and capital works projects for 2012. In the end, in order to avoid increasing the city's debt load, $8.7 million in capital spending out of general revenue and gas tax revenue was approved. In addition, we plan to begin construction on our brand new recreation multiplex in 2012 with an estimated $7 million to be invested in the beginning of this project this upcoming year. This contribution by our residents and citizens, along with the help of funding from other levels of government, will enable us next year to complete capital works, excluding the recreation multiplex, of $18 million. This includes $11.6 million in various street upgrading and improvements, and enhancements to many of the city's outdoor recreational facilities that we are so admired for, including such things as the refurbishing of our track at the track and field complex, our linear walking trails and bridges, softball facilities, and the continued development of our Team Gushu Sports Complex on Smallwood Drive. While we do anticipate borrowing to finance the cost of the multiplex construction, the remaining $18 million of investments in capital assets without having to borrow funds to be repaid by future generations is remarkable. The City of Mount Pearl, in this budget, will maintain a debt ratio of only 6%, a sound fiscal position to be in, and one we specifically set out to achieve many years ago by adopting a pay-as-you-go philosophy in addressing our infrastructure needs. Your Worship, I would like to point out two other important commitments that we have made recently and their impact on this budget. Firstly, as you know, last year we committed to embracing the concept of green technology in order to take a leadership role within the province in the protection of our natural environment. This was evident in the design we chose for the expansion of the glacier, which included the EcoChill ice refrigeration system, heat recovery processes, the use of grey water, and other initiatives in order to achieve LEED Silver status for this building. These efforts, I'm proud to say, were recognized both provincially and nationally, with the city receiving the 2011 Torngat Award from Municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador for environmental sustainability, and also receiving a Certificate of Merit at the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators 2011 Environmental Awards. Your Worship, our commitment towards environmental sustainability will continue in 2012 with the new recreation multiplex, which will also be constructed to LEED Silver standards. We also plan to continue our recycling and composting initiatives, which will include residential collection and composting for leaves and grass clippings. Secondly, our corporate strategic plan will focus our efforts in the next 5 years toward enhanced governance, service delivery, employee engagement, and the age friendliness of our city. The process of setting our specific goals and objectives is well underway. We continue to show our commitment to this by allocating $150,000 for initiatives that may arise out of the action plans being developed to achieve those goals and objectives. Council is again excited about the opportunity this will provide to strengthen our status as a progressive, independent city, responsive to the needs of our citizens, and a place that our residents are proud to call home. Other items worthy of mention in this budget, Your Worship, include the continued financial support that we provide, totaling $700,000 to our youth, aging adults, and other groups through such things as Frosty Festival, City Days, the Mount Pearl Sport Alliance, the Glacier Arenas, Admiralty House, our local Chamber of Commerce, the Seniors Independence Group, and many more. The Senior Citizens 20% property tax discount will continue for those in need, and an interest exemption will be available to all senior citizens who remain current with their tax payments. Our interest exemption and tax deferral policy for low-income earners will continue, which provides much appreciated relief for our residents whose income falls below $30,000 a year. Your Worship, exemption from payment of business tax will also continue to all operators of daycares and personal care homes within the city. This tax break, hopefully, allows these operators to spend a little more on the services that they provide in looking after our loved ones, and we are pleased to be able to extend this exemption. After determining the operating costs of running our city and choosing a responsible level of capital spending for 2012. The city's expenditure budget for 2012 is $38,910,000, an increase of just 4% over last year. As always, Council considered all avenues available to fund these expenses. A modest but steady amount of growth in our tax base provided some additional revenues to offset the increased cost we were facing. We are pleased to say that we have struck a balance between continued investment in our community and fiscal responsibility. And therefore, we chose not to change our mill rates over the prior year. In considering the actual price of water we purchase from the Regional Water Authority, the continued increase in prices projected into the future, the high standards required to ensure safe delivery of water to each property and safe delivery of wastewater to the treatment plant, the fleet, and other equipment necessary to operate our systems, it became obvious that an increase in our water and wastewater fees is necessary if we are to remain sustainable and recover these costs, which are in excess of $7 million. Therefore, to better match our revenues to expenses, we, like many municipalities in the region, have found it necessary to increase these fees again this year. Therefore, effective 2012, the water and wastewater fees will increase by $50. This will bring the annual cost for water and wastewater fees to $600 a year, and the commercial and metered rates will be adjusted accordingly. At just $50 per month for this vital service, this is still perhaps the lowest cost that any of us pay for the many utilities we purchase for daily living. Now, Your Worship, as required by legislation, I am pleased to move the following motions. Be it resolved that the City of Mount Pearl, in accordance with the City of Mount Pearl Act, establish the following tax rates for the 2012 taxation year. And these rates are outlined and they pertain to property tax, wastewater and water fees, commercial water fees, business tax, and the minimum taxes. And I so move.
It is moved. Seconded.
It is moved by Deputy Mayor Locke, seconded by Councillor Aker. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Next, Your Worship, be it resolved that the City of Mount Pearl, in accordance with the City of Mount Pearl Act, approve the attached schedule of rates and fees to take effect January the 1st, 2012. And I so move.
Moved, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Next, be it resolved that the City of Mount Pearl, in accordance with the City of Mount Pearl Act, approve an annual rate of interest of 10% to be levied on all past due taxes and accounts receivable, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
And finally, Your Worship, be it resolved that the City of Mount Pearl, in accordance with the City of Mount Pearl Act, approve the 2012 budget with operating revenues and expenditures totaling $38,910,000, and I so move.
It is moved by Deputy Mayor Locke, seconded by Councillor Aker, that we approve the tabled budget for 2012 as presented. Before I call the question, are there any questions or comments from members of council on the budget? If there is not, just before I call it, may I say to the committee that on behalf of all of council, to you, Deputy Mayor Locke, to our Chair of Finance, to our Director of Corporate Services, Mr. Silver in particular, and everybody who works so tirelessly on this budget, a very good job done. Council outlined for staff our desires, what we wanted to see accomplished when it came to the financial reality of this city going into 2012. I think that they and the committee, Deputy Mayor, have achieved it. And with that, I want to offer council's congratulations on a job well done.
Well, thank you, sir.
And we are now going to call the question, which I think we know the outcome. All those in favor, budget 2012, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts, Deputy Mayor? If not, we thank you for that. That concludes finance.
We are up to the new business portion of the meeting. Last week we started on my left. We'll start on my right this week. Councillor Ledwell, any new business?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of things. First of all, I just want to extend my congratulations to the Deputy Mayor, all of Council, and of course our senior management team on putting together the budget. A job well done. Just a few quick items. First of all, the Northeast Avalon Joint Council held their monthly meeting on December 14th here in the city of Mount Pearl. Of course, it was hosted here at City Hall, and I attended as the representative for Council. The Joint Council does thank the city for hosting its meeting on December 14th, and the next meeting is going to be held in the town of Paradise on January 18th of 2012. Secondly, I just want to make mention, earlier this month I, along with many of the members of Council, attended the Youth Action Team, the Mount Pearl Youth Action Team public speaking and debate event.
Yeah, they rated me, didn't they? They graded me behind my back.
They did. I saw some of the sheets.
I didn't do well.
Well, I'll leave that to them to tell you, but certainly the speaking and the debating that was going on here in this chamber that evening certainly would rival anything that goes on at the council table.
It was fabulous. Some of those topics would be great for my show, man.
You should.
They were great. They covered some fabulous stuff.
I just want to congratulate the following winners. First place went to Megan House. Second place to Maddie Rich. And third place was tied between Laura O'Neill and Shelby Spurl. So I think a round of applause for all of those.
Amen. Absolutely. Very well done. We'll send off a little congratulatory note to them as well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Just want to also make mention, of course, on December 3rd, the City Santa Claus Parade and the Christmas tree lighting went ahead. I want to congratulate the members of the Mount Pearl Lions Club and, of course, all the different community organizations and the staff as well that participated in making that parade and the Christmas tree lighting such a huge success as it is every year. I know a lot of the families, a lot of residents like to participate in those events, so congratulations to them. And finally, I just want to wish all of the residents of Mount Pearl a very Merry Christmas, a very safe holiday season, and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to begin as well by thanking Deputy Mayor Locke, his committee in particular, but all members of council as well as senior staff for their support and participation in the budget process. I think residents will be very pleased with a hold-the-line budget and continued significant investment in our community. Perhaps other than Mr. Silver, who is now serving in two capacities, Director of Corporate Services and Acting Director of Infrastructure and Public Works, I'm probably the other person who's very pleased to see Mr. Jerry Antle in the chair there today as Chair of Public Works. It seems like a long time when Mr. Silver has been acting, and when you're acting in two capacities that are as busy as corporate services, especially this time of the year, and of course Public Works is ramping up for preparations for the winter snow clearing season and the many ongoing things. It's been a busy time. So Jerry, we're delighted to have you on board with us, and we look forward to many, many years of working with you in the future. Other than that, Your Worship, I just want to extend very best wishes for a Merry Christmas and a safe, prosperous, and healthy New Year to all of our viewing audience, and also to my colleagues on council, to you and members of council, our senior staff, and all of the staff who do so much good work to provide the programs and services to our residents. Amen. Each and every day. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Councillor Stiles?
Thank you, Worship. I have a couple of things, and also want to pass along to Deputy Mayor Locke a great job on the budget, a couple of weekend meetings, and at the end of the day it all came out great, and a lot of hard work by staff, and just want to say great job by all. The things I also want to mention, Your Worship, I attended Byron Combrie's funeral. Byron was a staff person with us who passed away December the 1st, and I wanted to say how proud I was going out to the funeral and seeing so many staff people come out and take the day, because it was out in Northern Bay and it was over an hour and a half away, and we had probably 30 staff members, the CEO, come out to the funeral, and it was a sad day, no doubt, for Carol and for the family, but I was so delighted to see so many staff people come out and take the time to show up to the funeral. I know Carol appreciated and the family appreciated, but when you see so many people that you work with come out, I it was a tribute, certainly a tribute to him, and everybody who knew Byron knew how he always had a smile on his face and always knew him for that. So, it was a difficult week and a difficult time for the family, especially now in the Christmas season, but I wanted to mention that in the council chamber today, Your Worship.
Thank you.
A couple of other things I wanted to mention, Your Worship, is that I received a package from Mr. Sharon McNeil. No, this is Mr. Anyway, he's with the College of the North Atlantic, and he's involved with the research at the College of the North Atlantic, and they do a program. Back a number of months ago, I went to the college on behalf of the city and spent a day out there, and they give us all the information on what they had done, the research that they had done across the province, and said that they would be willing to partner with any research we had, and we talked about our line painting and things like that. Anyway, he passed me along a note. I ran into him actually about a month ago, and he passed me along a note and said that he would be quite willing to come in and meet with council, and if it's any project we would like to do, and he gave me a copy of the booklet that they have, all the projects they have done within the province in the past year, and I'm going to pass it along for any member of council who would like to look at it, and hopefully it might be something that we might be interested in partnering with the College of North Atlantic. And I wanted to mention that. The other thing, Your Worship, M&L did have their regional meetings here last weekend, and they have graciously given us a mug for each council member and staff. This is something that they've done for their convention. They had some left over from the convention, so I have one for every member of council.
A gift.
And staff. I have a little Christmas gift on behalf of M&L, and hopefully, even if we want to use
It's for coffee, Your Worship.
yeah, it's for coffee. And
Really?
Even if we want to leave them here and use them, I mean, they're really
Oh,
nice.
that's
mugs.
disappointing. I was kind of hoping they were for Bailey's.
Well, you can take them and use them whichever way you like, but I have one for every
Very
member of
nice.
council and staff, and they wanted to pass along their thank yous and say what a pleasure it was to be in Mount Pearl, and said that they were certainly treated well, and they're looking forward in coming back in the next couple of years, because of course they have to go across the province and out of municipalities and do meetings and that. Also, Your Worship, I've received a number of calls from seniors about the parking, and they did a petition up in Masonic Park, and I just wanted to mention that the petition has been received, and a letter has gone out to the residents saying that it will be at committee, but a number of them have said they haven't heard anything, and individuals wouldn't hear, but it did go. I'm assuming a letter did go to the board, who did send the petition in, and I received at least 4 or 5 calls, and I'm talking to seniors, and I'm assuming the committee will be dealing with it in the new year, and the study is going to be done.
Would you like me to speak to that for a second,
Sure.
Your Worship? Yes, I had a representative from Masonic Park contact me this past week as well. I think the concern right now is entering and exiting the actual intersection from Masonic. And we've determined, I think, a preliminary drive-by has been done, and we've determined that probably one of the biggest concerns is actually the speed of traffic on Mount Carson. People with that turn taken out now, it's certainly much easier to have a heavy foot on that strip of road.
Yeah, I don't think people are particularly speeding. I think it's recognized that when we had that 90-degree turn off
That's
Rangeville
right. They were
right in
quite
front of the entrance and exit to Masonic, right? Traffic was moving slow
Yes.
going through there, and now
Yes.
it's regular flow through.
That's right.
Relative to before, it's much faster.
So now
so
it's
relative
much
to
faster.
it feels faster.
But
you know?
what we would like to do, of course, this is going to be part of a larger traffic study. But right now, we are going to quite likely have municipal enforcement go up and patrol that area for speeding traffic at this particular time. The hope was to put the traffic calmer up there, but we don't do that in the winter because it can damage the machine, I believe. However, we are going to have our municipal enforcement go up there and patrol the area for speeding traffic. Tickets will be issued if people are speeding. So what we'd like to do is preventative instead of reactive. We'd like to prevent anybody from getting a speeding ticket. However, again, this is one of those situations where people have to be cognizant of how they're driving, and they have to drive responsibly. in that area particularly. That intersection is there, and hopefully that will help make it a little easier for the seniors to get in and out of that particular intersection.
Thank you.
And that's basically all I wanted to inform the residents that we are looking into it and we will be taking action on it. And last but not least is Merry Christmas to all and to all our staff and to the rest of council and of course to our residents.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship.
I'm going right straight through here to Mr. Aker today.
I don't know if you're going to go down. First thing I would like to do is acknowledge we have a couple of members of our Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, who are these smiling women?
Deborah and Mary, and they met with Mr. Silver and me beforehand, and we had a pre-budget consultation with them.
Are they happy,
They
Deputy Mayor?
they seem to be happy. They submitted a report to us, and
Will the President be chasing me around, beating me over the back of the head?
many of the things
Oh,
that
he'll do that come May. I'm just thinking right now.
many
Are we
things-
happy down there?
They are very happy.
Oh, excellent.
Many of the things that they had submitted in terms of an economic development strategy,
We incorporated it.
we incorporated into our budget. And
By the way, you did a great pre-budget submission.
yeah.
It was excellent.
And it was good to see then, and they indicated again that the majority of their members are very satisfied with our budgeting and how the council is spending the money, and we're getting a good bang for our buck. So it was a very pleasant meeting. They seemed delighted with the path that we're taking, and they seemed very satisfied with the budget. So I just wanted to acknowledge their presence here this afternoon. Also, Your Worship, I had the pleasure of attending the Mount Pearl Senior High School Diploma Night last evening. The city awards scholarship to both O'Donnell and Mount Pearl Senior High. And I know you made reference to the O'Donnell diploma. They have it a little earlier, and you made reference to the amazing quality of our young people today.
Yeah, well, I got to steal Johnny Walsh's place on that
Right.
one, right?
But last night
Couldn't steal yours.
it was it was a great turnout, just a beautiful event with the showcase of talent, because many of our current students in the school performed with some song, and it was beautiful. But just to highlight some of the things here, and again, I know you've made reference to as well, and much the same with our O'Donnell students. We have great students here in the city. We had 145 graduates from Mount Pearl Senior High, and 57 graduated with honors status. That's a 38.5% compared to the provincial average of 26%. So they're doing very well. We outperformed the province in 8 of the 12 provincial public exam courses. But what struck me last night, I think there were 37 scholarships given out, and the students received over $100,000 in external scholarships. They were awarded last night for that graduating class. I mean, it is absolutely amazing when you see what these kids do, and they're so well-rounded. I think Student of the Year had something like a 96 or 97.6 average overall in her university entrance. And our male Youth of the Year, Sean Leonard, I think he came in at 96.4 or something. And not only are they strong academically, they have a social conscience, they're involved in the community. I mean, it was truly amazing to see. So I just wanted to give kudos to the 145 Mount Pearl students that received.
Here, here.
diploma last
We don't
night.
point out the good. We don't point out the good enough. We're all real quick to jump on the bad. But
Absolutely.
we really don't point out how fabulous these young people really are.
Well,
You know.
it's a good staff, but I know Councillor Walsh also was in the school system.
Well, none of the teachers around this table can take any credit for
No,
that.
we don't take any credit. But you're right. Too often, the media, the stuff you see in the media, and our teenagers get a bad rap. And I tell my students all the time that whenever I can, I plug the fact that the majority of our youth are good people. They have a good social conscience, and they're great community members, and they're going to be great community leaders in the future. And we can speak to that with our newest council member, Mr. Andrew Ledwell. He came up through O'Donnell, and we saw how such a fine man he turned out. So again, I just wanted to mention that from last evening's proceedings.
sir.
And the last thing I would like to do, of course, is to extend a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to, first of all, the council members. We spent a lot of time together. It was a great year, another successful year. I like the fact that you always make reference to the council team, a team approach. I like the fact that we have disagreements, and we do have disagreements. Many people may not realize it.
No,
It gets very heated in debate sometimes.
no, not
But
true.
the
Is
thing I
it?
like about the council is that it never gets personal.
Amen.
It's always when we argue, when we debate, when we get heated, it's for the benefit of the city.
Keep it on point.
And that's what I like about it. That when we leave the place after our late night meetings or weekend meetings, council generally leaves on high notes. So again, just this opportunity to extend a Merry Christmas to all of you, and of course our senior staff and all of our staff who, as I mentioned in the budget speech, they do amazing work for this city year round, and we can't thank them enough. Sometimes it may seem that we take them for granted. I know our directors, in particular our CAO, I know the long hours that they log. The public doesn't see that. And I know the staff right down through our organization. They put the city first, and that's what makes us, as you say all the time, Your Worship, the best little city in the world in which to live.
Amen.
And I would also like to extend a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to our viewers at home and all of the residents of our beautiful city. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Tessier.
I just want to expand on something that the Deputy Mayor touched on. He was talking about the graduation night last night, the diploma night. One of the students as well from Mount Pearl Senior High, Jeff Sullivan, graduated last night. Jeff is actually now a student at the New York Film Academy in Manhattan. Yes,
Must be trying to take my son's job, is he?
He is. I tell you, he's a kid who's moving up.
That's good.
He's moving up quickly. So
he was home?
he came home for it last night. Yes.
He came home to do this?
Yes.
How
yes.
nice.
Yeah,
Great.
It's amazing. Actually, I have that young man on Facebook, and he is always posting pictures of different plays, shows, accomplishments, people he's met. This really means a lot to him. So that's a pretty big deal.
That's pretty good,
That's
yeah.
a pretty big deal. In my report, I neglected to give out the website for the RNC report that they had there. So if anybody wants to check it out online, they certainly can, and I would encourage them to do it. It's www.mc.gov.nl.ca.
That's not MC, I don't think.
What's that? It should be. Oh, it
There
says
should be a
MC
space there. It should be rnc.gov.
Okay, let's say rnc.gov.nl.ca. However, if anybody needs that information, it's just to call us here at City Hall, and we'd be happy to give it to them as well. Speaking of the RNC, I'd like to encourage everybody, near and far, if you are going out during this festive season to participate in celebration, I would encourage everybody, of course, to be sensible about it and don't drink and drive, not even one. Because many of us are, it's easy to say, it's just one. Not even one. Not worth it. It's not worth it. We got a fabulous taxi system here in Mount Pearl. You don't need to do it. And of course, everybody should be wise about that and just make a sensible, wise choice. Watch out for our school children. They're going to be out and about and very excited to be out and about these days because they're going to get a little break from school. And so the teachers are as well, but they're big and ugly enough to watch out for themselves. Watch out for the children. And of course, it's been said, our city staff here in Mount Pearl make us look very, very good. And we provide an exceptionally high level of service to the residents. We're very proud to do it. So from our CAO to the directors to management and every member of the staff here within the city of Mount Pearl, thank you for such an exceptional year. It's been a wonderful year, and I look forward to next year being just as wonderful and successful. I wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a very safe and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Councillor Aker.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's really not much left, and I know everybody's trying to get out of here. It's been a long meeting. I just wanted to bring something to the attention of the public, and especially to users of the Glacier. The Glacier 2 opened up here this past fall, and there's issues with parking. And the main issue is that we haven't been able to pave the parking lot up.
That's right.
Because we're going to ultimately end up digging that up when we do our construction of our multiplex. So what they've done is they put some barriers up, and in a general sense, near the entrance to Glacier 2, we don't want any parking there, except for that which is reserved for disabled parking. And I'd just like to bring the attention of that to the general public, that when you're up there, park on the other side of the barriers, park away from the building, not near the entrance. We have signs up. And could you also respect the access required to the back of the Pearlgate track and field? Do you know what I mean? Unfortunately, we will have to issue tickets because this is, even though this is a heads up, and I know minor hockey has recently just sent out an email to all the parents and all the players in minor hockey. But generally speaking, the only way to make sure this happens is not just through communication, but ultimately maybe through a bit of enforcement. So just want to give everybody in the public a heads up. Final. Pardon me? Oh, that's coming. Yeah, that's next, right? You know what I mean? I'd also like to congratulate. congratulate the Deputy Mayor. Job well done. A lot of hard work on the budget, and we're going to have a good year in 2012. Jerry Antle, welcome aboard. I'm sure you'll find working with the City of Mount Pearl is both challenging and rewarding, and look forward to you joining the team early in the new year. Yes. And finally, Merry Christmas to all the residents of Mount Pearl, to all our viewers, as well as to my fellow colleagues on council and to all the staff of the city. Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much. Just before I call for a motion to adjourn, I want to do that as well. I want to pass on a thank you to some people and wish them the very best. First of all our good friends in the media who have been covering us and getting our message out there for the last year. The folks at Rogers who take the time and come in and do this 4 times a year for us. They always manage to get the budget one in. I don't know how that works out. Maybe that's us or it could be them. I'm not sure. But we thank you guys very much for giving us the opportunity to do this kind of work and to be able to utilize their television screens to be able to get a message out very quickly to our own taxpayers as to how we're operating and what's going on in the city. We appreciate it. So to the media, thank you. We're trusting that 2012 we will be just as boring as we were in 2011. We'll try and provide some interest when we can, when there's both good and bad things that come our way through the year. To all of our staff, from the CAO on down to, and I don't know what that person would be, because I always believe that everybody in the city that has a role to play, it's all of equal importance. You know, everybody, we all laugh and say we're here serving the people. But in reality, we're here serving the people. And I got to tell you, the employees and the workers in this city, both union and non-union, do it in an exemplary manner that we can be quite proud of. And they make us look good everywhere. And so I want to offer to all of our staff, both senior staff, management, non-management, and union staff, our heartfelt thanks for 2011. And we're looking forward to an even bigger, brighter, better year in 2012. Jerry, I got to tell you, are you ready? You realize now that you've sat there, you realize the kind of standard you signed on for, you realize what bar you have to achieve, do you? You ready?
I'm taking it all in, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm ready to take it on.
He's ready to go. That's why these Mount Pearlers, you got to love them. They're all ready to go. On that note, everybody, Merry Christmas, a very safe holiday season, a joyous and happy New Year to everyone. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. It is moved by, we'll say the rookie,
There you go.
Councillor Ledwell. Moved by Councillor Ledwell. We stand adjourned.